All right. Before the playoffs officially start tomorrow, and yes, I don't count the play-in game as the playoffs, I think of it as like a nice appetizer to the playoffs because it is a playoff-like atmosphere, but it is still the play-in and not the playoffs, in my opinion. I'm here to give my predictions for every series, and I'm going to go through every series quickly and just give my round one predictions and have it all in one place. So it might be a shorter video as opposed to expanding and doing a comprehensive video on each series one by one. Just want to do a quick one by one series prediction and, give a few little anecdotes here. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. So obviously, this is recorded before the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Atlanta Hawks play their play-in game tonight, and the New Orleans Pelicans and the Clippers play their game tonight. And shocking news before the day even starts, Paul George is in health and safety protocol, so we'll see how that turns out for the Clippers. But let's start in the West first, the 1-8 matchup. Whoever the Phoenix Suns play, I'm going to pick in 5. Whether it's the Clippers or the Pelicans. And I even felt this way even before the Paul George news broke. Even if Kawhi hypothetically came back, and, I've heard, what if the Clippers are at full strength in time for the Phoenix series? I would still pick Phoenix to win in 5 because I just don't think you can come back immediately into the playoffs having not played in the regular season at all. And also, there's new pieces with Robert Covington and Norm Powell, and I know they're all interchangeable wings. I just don't think the continuity is there, and it's really disrespectful to a Suns team that has won 64 games, the most in its franchise history, and I'm going with the more complete team and the better team. Obviously, in the 1-8 matchup, that's usually the case, and I'm picking the Suns in 5 regardless. The 4-5 matchup, the Mavericks and the Utah Jazz. This Luka injury is a fucking bummer, man. I was ready for a great Luka playoff run. He has been a monster since New Year's started. After the Porzingis trade, it turned out to be a stroke of genius because the Mavs kind of doubled down on all the players they would like to put around Luka, having an extra dynamic ball handler in Spencer Dinwiddie to complement Doncic and Jalen Brunson. And then having Davis Bertans, who is still bad, but at least the skill set he has, you could fit around Doncic. And the trade has worked out great for the Mavericks and the Wizards too, actually, but that's besides the point. But this calf strain really does put a damper on this series because I was going to pick the Mavericks in 5 games. I'm not a Utah believer, especially how they sputtered towards the end of the season. It just seems like a team that's ready to be blown up. So I was going to pick the Mavs in 5. Now without Luka, this series is probably going to be Jazz in 6. I imagine Luka is going to want to try to get out there, but this is a calf strain. And the last time a superstar was dealing with a calf strain in the playoffs or right around the playoffs and tried to come back, that did not turn out so well either. Talking about Kevin Durant returning for the 2019 finals after coming back from a calf strain. So right now, I have Jazz in 6, and that still might be the case even if Luka comes back. I just think calf strains, hamstring strains, any type of strain in your lower extremities is just finicky and unpredictable and could re-aggravate at any time. So even if Luka came back and wasn't 100%, I would still pick the Jazz in 6. Golden State Warriors, Denver Nuggets, the 3-6 matchup. Now this matchup will be interesting because the Nuggets supporting cast has been lackluster all year outside of Aaron Gordon and, the last 3 months of rookie Bones Highland lighting it up. But the Warriors are just going to have their hands full dealing with Nikola Jokic. And I imagine Draymond Green is going to see a lot of Nikola Jokic in crunch time as the Warriors go to their small lineup. But Steph Curry should be back. The Warriors still haven't deployed some lineups that I think are going to be deadly, like playing Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, and Draymond Green together, or just some iteration of that type of lineup with Draymond at the 5. There's just some lineups with Draymond at the 5 and the combinations within that the Warriors haven't tried yet because of health and other things that I'm just really excited to see. But I'm going to pick the Warriors in a tough 6-game series. The other exciting matchup in the Western Conference, the 2-7 between the Memphis Grizzlies and the Minnesota Timberwolves, 2 of the youngest teams in the NBA, 2 teams with rising stars. Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, Ja Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, D'Angelo Russell, on and on and on, just riddled with young, interesting players. Some games were close. One of them was a crazy overtime game. This is just a matchup for the NBA nerds or for draft prospect nerds who have been tracking all the young guys on each of these rosters. And it's going to be exciting, and I'm going to pick Memphis in an exciting 7-game series. Can't wait to see Pat Bev and Ja Morant talking shit, Dylan Brooks and Patrick Beverley talking shit, Anthony Edwards and seeing who the Grizzlies are going to put on Anthony Edwards, whether it's Desmond Bane or Dylan Brooks, also equally big guards like Anthony Edwards. It's going to be an exciting series, but I got the Memphis Grizzlies in an exciting 7-game series. Full 7 games, going the distance. Then moving over to the Eastern Conference, we still need to figure out who the Miami Heat are going to play between the Cavaliers and the Hawks. I think the Hawks are going to beat the Cavs in the play-in game, as much as I love the Cavs, though Jared Allen is playing tonight, so we'll see. But either way, if the Heat play the Hawks, I actually think that might be a tougher matchup for Miami than the Cavs, because Jared Allen, I know he's playing, but I just don't trust that he's playing on a fractured finger. I'm afraid he could re-injure it. He might have trouble catching the ball, but at least Cleveland has their full team back. And so maybe, because Cleveland did beat Miami twice, and they do present some problems for Miami. But if it's the Hawks, I got the Heat in 6. If it's the Cavs, I got the Heat in 5. And then the series that's probably going to make me sweat and leave a puddle of sweat in my chair while watching, the Philadelphia 76ers and the Toronto Raptors. A lot of people are picking a Raptors upset. That's the sexy pick right now to make yourself seem smart, and rightfully so. The Raptors present the Sixers with a lot of problems. They historically guard Joel Embiid well. Nick Nurse just has some crazy-ass defensive schemes. The Raptors are a weird team in that they have a lot of 6'8 to 6'10 guys with long-ass wingspans. And then there's Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. starting in the backcourt, which is kind of a funny dichotomy. But the injury to Fred VanVleet and how he's going to deal with his knee problem is going to be a key. Matisse Thybulle and his stupid stance on the vaccination is going to make him ineligible to play in Toronto. And the Sixers just don't have the athletes or the wing size to deal with the Raptors. So it's going to have to be Joel Embiid's going to have to be the best player in the series, and James Harden's pop and his burst is going to have to make an appearance. And maybe that will be the case now that they've had a week off and there's multiple days in between games as opposed to back-to-backs and one day on, one day off, then another game, etc., etc. I'm going to go Sixers in a grueling 7-game series. I would not be surprised if the Sixers actually trounce the Raptors if they play up to their potential, because I think the top-end talent is better. The Raptors all around just have a deeper team, and since the new year, Pascal Siakam has been playing like an all-star. Should be on a lot of people's short list for All-NBA third team, so we'll see, but I got Sixers in 7. Milwaukee Bucks and the Chicago Bulls, and the Bulls kind of sputtered thanks to injuries and just poor play against conference contenders. And look, every team's been injured, so I know people will consider that to be an excuse with the Bulls, but injuries really did wreck the Bulls. But at the same time, if you're a contender, you keep plugging along and churning away, which is something that the Sixers have done, something that the Bucks have done. The Heat have had injuries all up and down the roster and are still the first seed in the East. The Bulls have still had DeMar DeRozan. Hopefully Zach LaVine can at least play through the knee injury, because I know that he said that's something that he's going to need to address in the offseason. But I got Bucks in 5. This is just a terrible matchup for the Bulls. The Bulls don't have anyone that can guard Giannis or Joel Embiid. So really, whenever the Sixers and the Bucks were fighting for the third seed towards the end of the regular season, it was just not going to be favorable for the Bulls, whether it was the Celtics, the Sixers, or the Bucks. And for the Bucks and the Sixers, the Bulls just don't have anyone that can guard either Giannis or Embiid. And so I'm picking Bucks in 5. Brooklyn Nets and Boston Celtics. As much as I want to roll with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, the Celtics are the better team. Their switching defense is just stifling. I think that scheme is tailor-made to guard teams like the Nets, especially because Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are going to have to do the heavy lifting in order to pull this off. And I think they will for most of the series. So with that, I'm picking the Celtics in 7 because the Nets are going to have answers for Jason Tatum too and Jaylen Brown. But it's going to be an interesting series nonetheless. I got Celtics in 7. So those are my round 1 predictions. As the playoffs get deeper and we get better matchups in series, you'll probably see more breakdowns and more elaborate breakdowns on my predictions, but just wanted to round up all the round 1 series and put them here in this video. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm excited for the playoffs. The play-in games have already been exciting, star-studded, and I just can't wait to see how these playoffs turn out.